The crimson fleet of the Vexthani Empire hung in space like drops of blood against the stars. 17 star systems bowed before their might, each world marked by the scars of conquest. Admiral Korth Axi's flagship Bloodrender drifted above, the insectoid homeworld of Chiktar, its massive hull bristling with plasma cannons and missile pods that could turn continents to glass. On the bridge, holographic displays showed tribute calculations from dozens of subjugated worlds. The Vexthani had perfected the art of fear. They took just enough to cripple resistance but left enough for survival. A broken population was more useful than a dead one. Admiral, the Chiktar delegation awaits your response. His lieutenant hissed through breathing apparatus that filtered the ship's toxic atmosphere. Korth Axis studied the trembling insectoid representatives on his view screen. Their compound eyes reflected the red emergency lighting of their own dying fleet. 3 Chiktar vessels floated nearby, their organic hulls cracked and bleeding atmosphere into space. The battle had lasted mere hours. Half our harvest. Great. Admiral. The lead delegate clicked desperately. We offer half of everything our world produces. Surely this demonstrates our submission to your glorious empire. Korth Axis' mandibles clicked in amusement. The Chiktar had been proud warriors once, their bioships among the most feared in the Outer Rim. Now they begged like scavengers. He leaned forward in his command throne, savoring their terror. Insufficient, he declared through the universal translator. The word carried the weight of absolute authority. You will provide 70% of all agricultural output, plus your most advanced biotechnology. Refuse and your cities will burn before the next sunrise. The Chiktar delegates chittered in despair. 70% meant starvation for millions, but resistance meant extinction for their entire species. They had witnessed what happened to the proud Zephyrians who had dared to fight back. Their crystal cities now stood as monuments to Vexthani ruthlessness, empty and cracked like broken glass. We accept your generous terms, Great Admiral, the delegate finally whispered. Korth Axis dismissed them with a wave. Another world, broken, another species crushed under the Empire's boot. The Vexthani way was simple and effective, overwhelming force followed by systematic exploitation. Fear was their greatest weapon, more powerful than any plasma cannon or fusion bomb. Bearer. Across the galaxy, on the frontier world of New Busan, Li Daeho had no knowledge of galactic politics or alien empires. He knew only the simple rhythms of farm life, the morning mist over the grain fields, the afternoon sun warming the soil, and the laughter of his 7-year-old daughter Kim Yuna as she chased butterflies between the rows of golden wheat. The human colony stretched across a valley surrounded by purple mountains under a pale orange sky. Simple prefab buildings housed 3,000 souls who had traveled from Earth seeking a quiet life among the stars. No grand cities or military installations marked this world, just farms and workshops and the dreams of families starting fresh. Papa, look, Yuna called out, cupping a shimmering blue butterfly in her small hands. It has patterns like Mama's favorite dress. Daeho smiled and knelt beside his daughter. The butterfly's wings caught the alien sunlight, creating patterns that seemed to dance and shift. Life on New Busan had adapted to the unique solar radiation, creating creatures of impossible beauty that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. Very pretty little star, he said, using his pet name for her. But butterflies need to fly free, don't they? Yuna nodded solemnly and opened her hands. The butterfly spiraled upward, joining dozens of others in their afternoon dance above the wheat. Her pure joy at the simple sight filled Daeho's heart with warmth. From their farmhouse came the voice of Park Mira calling them for the evening meal. She stood on the wooden porch, her apron dusted with flour from baking bread. The smell of her famous kimchi stew drifted across the fields, making Daeho's stomach rumble with anticipation. Come, both of you. Dinner's getting cold and Yuna has homework to finish. The little girl groaned dramatically. But Papa, the butterflies are having their sunset gathering. Teacher Choi says they're saying goodbye to the day. Mira laughed, the sound carrying on the gentle evening breeze. Teacher Choi also says that students who don't finish their Earth history lessons might find themselves staying after school tomorrow. In the converted community center that served as New Busan's school, Choi Boram was indeed preparing lessons about Earth's ancient past. The elderly teacher had volunteered to educate the colony's children, sharing stories of humanity's homeworld with young minds hungry for knowledge. Her classroom walls displayed star charts and historical images, the Great Wall of China, the pyramids of Egypt, the first lunar colonies. Tomorrow she would teach the children about Earth's early space exploration, never imagining that other species watched the stars with predatory eyes. High above New Busan's atmosphere, where no human instruments could detect them, sleek Vexthani, scout ships had already completed their survey. The world showed no significant defenses, no military installations, no signs of advanced technology. Just another primitive settlement ripe for exploitation. The reports were already traveling through hyperspace toward the main fleet, carrying news of a soft target perfect for the Empire's next expansion. Soon, Admiral Korthaxi would add another world to his collection, another species to break beneath the crimson banner of Vexithani supremacy. But the scouts had made one critical error in their assessment. They saw only farmers and families, teachers and children. They failed to recognize the quiet strength that had carried humanity across the galaxy, the fierce protective instinct that slept beneath the peaceful surface of every human heart. The butterflies continued their sunset dance, unaware that darkness was coming to their peaceful world. The morning sky above New Busan twisted like water as reality itself bent around the emerging starships. Commander Ithkol's 3 cruisers materialized. From hyperspace with a thunderous boom that shattered windows across the colony, the Vexthani vessels hung in the pale orange sky like metal predators, their hulls gleaming with weapon ports and sensor arrays. Each cruiser stretched over 2 kilometers long, their crimson armor plating scarred from countless battles. Plasma conduits glowed like veins beneath their hull plating, and massive engine clusters pulsed with contained nuclear fire. The smallest of the 3 ships could have housed the entire human colony within its cargo holds. On the colony's single orbital platform, Chief Engineer Kim Tae-wan watched his instruments go crazy as alien energy signatures flooded his sensors. The platform was nothing more than a refueling station and communication hub, built from converted cargo containers and held together with determination and spare parts. "Governor Han, you need to see this," Tae-wan called into his emergency communicator, his voice shaking. Through the platform's observation windows, he could see the alien warships positioning themselves in perfect formation above the planet. Down. On the surface, Governor Han Woo-jin stood in the colony's modest administrative building, staring at the communication console as it crackled to life. The universal translator struggled with the alien language before settling into cold, mechanical words. Primitive species of the 3rd planet designation, New Busan. The voice carried no emotion, no hint of negotiation. "I am Commander Ithkol of the Vexthani expansion fleet. Your world has been selected for imperial development. You will immediately surrender all resources, technology, and infrastructure to the Empire. Evacuation of all organic life forms will commence within 2 solar rotations." Han Woo-jin felt his blood turn to ice. He had been a diplomat on Earth before joining the colonial program, trained in first contact protocols that assumed reasonable beings could find common ground. The cold demand in the alien voice suggested otherwise. "Commander Ithkol," Han began carefully, activating the reply channel. "I am Governor Han Woo-jin, elected representative of the New Busan colony. We are peaceful people seeking only to live in harmony with our environment. Surely we can reach an agreement that benefits both our peoples. We need time to evacuate our families safely, especially our children and elderly." The response came instantly, sharp as a blade. "You mistake a command for a negotiation, human. Your compliance is not requested. It is required. Resistance will result in immediate orbital cleansing." Above the planet, Ithkol studied the human settlement through his ship's sensors. The creatures had built their pathetic colony in a single valley, their structures weak and undefended. No energy shields, no plasma cannons, no orbital defenses worthy of the name. This would be easier than crushing insects. "Sir, the humans are requesting additional time for evacuation," his weapons officer reported. They claim to have young offspring that require special protection during transport. Yithkol's lips curled back, revealing rows of sharp teeth. In Vexithani culture, young were expected to survive on their own merit. These soft mammals coddled their offspring like precious crystals. Such weakness disgusted him. Defiance, he hissed. They dare to make demands of the Empire. Prepare the plasma batteries. We will demonstrate the cost of resistance. Down in New Busan's converted community center, the Harvest Festival was in full swing. The colony held the celebration every year to mark the end of the growing season, when the alien grain reached perfect ripeness under the orange sun. Colorful banners hung between the buildings, and the smell of grilled food filled the air. Kim Yuna wore her best dress, the one with patterns that reminded her of butterfly wings. She practiced her dance steps with the other children in the school courtyard, giggling as they stumbled through the traditional movements that Teacher Choi had taught them from old Earth videos. Remember to keep your arms graceful like flowing water, Choi Boram called out, her voice warm with affection for her students. She had taught on 3 different worlds during her career, but nowhere had she found children more eager to learn than here on New Busan. Park Mi-ra sat with the other parents, watching the children rehearse. Her heart swelled with pride as Yuna spun with perfect timing, her small face bright with concentration and joy. Lee Dae-ho worked the festival booths, helping serve food to families who had become closer than blood relatives during their years together on this distant world. The first plasma bolt struck the administrative building without warning. The structure vaporized in a flash of superheated gas, taking Governor Han and his staff with it. The explosion's shockwave shattered every window in the colony and sent people screaming in terror. Yithkol watched the destruction through his tactical display, satisfied with the precision of his gunners. The attack had been calculated to inspire maximum fear, while preserving the colony's infrastructure for future use. Target the largest gathering of life forms, he ordered. Demonstrate the price of defiance. In the school courtyard, Teacher Choi looked up at the impossible sight of alien warships hanging in their sky. Her mind struggled to process what was happening, as parents grabbed their children and ran for shelter. The children stood frozen in confusion, their festival costumes bright against the smoke rising from the ruined buildings. Everyone inside. Quickly, Choi shouted, herding her students toward the school's reinforced basement. But there was nowhere to run from weapons that could strike from space. The plasma barrage lit up the courtyard like a miniature sun. The school's walls melted like ice in summer heat. 15 children died instantly, their laughter silenced forever. Kim Yuna's last thought was of butterflies dancing in the sunset. Lee Dae-ho found his daughter's body in the smoking ruins, her festival dress still bright with butterfly patterns now stained with soot and tears. He held her close while the world burned around them, his heart breaking with a pain that would never heal. Teacher Choi died shielding 3 of her students with her own body, whispering words of comfort even as the flames consumed everything she had worked to protect. The massacre lasted 6 minutes. The screams echoed for hours. 3 days later, Chief Engineer Kim Tae-won managed to repair the orbital platform's long-range transmitter. His message flashed across the galaxy at faster-than-light speed, carrying humanity's first cry for help in the darkness between the stars. This is New Busan Colony. His voice cracked with grief and rage. We are under attack by alien forces. They killed our children during our harvest festival. 15 little ones dead for no reason except cruelty. If anyone can hear this message, please help us. They killed our children. Please, someone help us. The transmission raced toward Earth, carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. The message from New Busan arrived at Luna Station during Admiral Park Jin-woo's morning briefing. The transmission cut through normal communications like a knife, its emergency protocols overriding everything else on the network. Jin-woo's weathered face went pale as Chief Engineer Kim Tae-won's broken voice filled the command center. They killed our children. Please, someone help us. The holographic display showed the aftermath of the attack. Smoking ruins where a school had stood moments before. Small bodies covered in festival clothes now stained with ash. Parents weeping over children who would never laugh again. Jin-woo had seen countless battles during his 40-year career, But nothing had prepared him for this raw footage of innocence destroyed. Captain Lee Sung-ho, his aide and trusted friend, watched the Admiral's expression change from shock to something far more dangerous. Jin Woo's hands clenched into fists as the recording played the children's last moments, their traditional dance interrupted by plasma fire from orbit. "Sir, intelligence reports indicate this was a Vexthani expansion fleet," Sung-ho said quietly. "3 cruisers, standard patrol configuration, but their main battle group has over 300 vessels stationed throughout their territory. If we respond aggressively—" Jin-Woo stood slowly, his chair scraping against the metal floor. Around the command center, junior officers had stopped their work to watch the transmission. Some had tears in their eyes. Others showed the same cold fury that was building in their admiral's chest. "Captain, how long since humanity revealed its true military capabilities to the galaxy?" Jin-Woo asked, his voice deadly quiet. "Never, sir. The Colonial Defense Accords specifically mandate that we maintain the appearance of a peaceful, lightly armed species. All our advanced technology remains classified above galactic intelligence gathering capabilities." Jin-Woo nodded. For 5 decades, humanity had played the role of harmless farmers and traders spreading peacefully through space. Their ships looked like converted cargo haulers. Their colonies appeared defenseless. Their diplomats spoke always of peace and cooperation. Meanwhile, in hidden shipyards throughout the Sol system, humanity had been building something else entirely. The Vexthani made one critical error in their intelligence assessment, Jin-Woo said, watching the footage of little Kim Yuna's broken body being carried by her father. "They assumed that because we choose peace we are incapable of war." He activated his command console with biometric locks that required Admiral-level clearance. The Luna Station Command Center transformed as hidden panels slid away, revealing tactical displays that showed the true scope of humanity's military might. Sung-ho gasped despite his high security clearance. Even he had never seen the complete picture. "Scramble the First Fleet," Jin-Woo commanded, his voice carrying to every corner of the command center. "All ships, full combat loadout. Authorization, Jin-Woo Alpha 77. This is not a drill." Throughout the Sol system, hidden bases responded to the Admiral's call. On the dark side of Mercury, massive doors opened in what appeared to be mining facilities. The Europa ice field split along concealed seams, revealing construction bays that stretched for kilometers beneath the frozen surface. Even Luna Station itself began to transform, its civilian facade falling away to expose the military fortress it had always been. Captain Sung-ho pulled up the tactical briefings on his personal display, his face growing more concerned with each page. "Sir, the Vexthani Empire controls 17 star systems. Their military doctrine emphasizes overwhelming force and terror tactics. Our intelligence suggests they have successfully conquered over 40 different species using these methods." "Intelligence suggests they just made the worst mistake in galactic history." Jin-Woo cut him off, his eyes never leaving the footage of burning children. "They touched our children." The first ships to emerge from Earth's hidden shipyards bore no resemblance to the simple cargo vessels and passenger liners that humanity showed to the galaxy. These were predators that had been disguised as prey for half a century, waiting for the moment when hiding was no longer an option. The UNS Sol's Vengeance rose from beneath Europa's ice like a metallic leviathan. Its hull stretched over, 3 kilometers long, covered in armor plating that could absorb direct hits from stellar-class weapons. Quantum torpedo tubes lined its flanks like the teeth of some ancient sea monster, while its main cannon could punch through moon-sized asteroids. From Mercury's solar forges came the destroyer Busan's Fury, its hull glowing with barely contained fusion energy. The ship's experimental phase shift drive allowed it to pass through solid matter, delivering weapons directly inside enemy vessels. Its captain, Commander Yoon Hae-jin, had been born on New Busan before joining the military. The footage of his childhood home burning filled him with cold purpose. The battlecruiser, Luna's Wrath, detached from the space station's hidden military section, its stealth systems bending light around its massive frame. Admiral Jin-Woo's flagship carried weapons that existed only in the nightmares of enemy tactical planners. gravitational torpedoes that could implode entire ships, antimatter charges that burned hotter than small stars. Across human space, similar vessels emerged from their hiding places. The cargo ship, Harmony's Grace, had actually been the heavy cruiser, Righteous Anger all along, its merchant facade concealing plasma cannons and missile batteries. Mining platforms revealed themselves as orbital defense stations. Peaceful. Research vessels deployed weapon systems that made Vexthani technology look like stone tools. Fleet status report, Jinwoo commanded as he took his position on the Luna's Wrath Bridge. 12 heavy cruisers online and ready for combat, Sung-ho reported, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were unleashing. 8 destroyers, 4 battle cruisers, and 36 support vessels. All ships report green status on experimental weapons systems. Through the bridge viewports, Jinwoo could see the rest of the First Fleet taking formation. Each ship represented decades of secret development and trillions of credits in advanced technology. Humanity had learned from every first contact scenario, every diplomatic failure, every species that had underestimated the dangers of galactic politics. Sir, final confirmation from Earth Command, the communications officer announced. You are authorized to use any means necessary to protect human civilians and respond to threats against colonial populations. Jinwoo nodded, understanding the weight of those words. Earth's leaders had just given him permission to reveal humanity's true nature to the galaxy. The age of hiding was over. Plot course for New Busan, he ordered. Maximum speed. The Vexthani want to see what happens when they hurt human children. Time to show them. The First Fleet vanished into hyperspace like wrathful ghosts, carrying humanity's answer to those who would harm the innocent. Behind them, Earth's remaining defense fleets moved to protect the homeworld, while deep space monitoring stations tracked every alien movement within 100 light-years. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their ships. It was their absolute refusal to accept the death of children as the price of peace. The lion had been sleeping for 50 years. Now it was finally time to hunt. The hyperspace window above New Busan tore open like a wound in reality itself. Ramroso, Park Jinwoo's fleet emerged from the swirling vortex of bent spacetime with the precision of a surgeon's blade. 12 human vessels materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with unfamiliar technology that made the watching Vexthani sensors scream warnings. Commander Yithkol stood on the bridge of his flagship, Blood Talon, studying the newcomers through his tactical display. His mandibles clicked in amusement as he counted the enemy ships. 12 primitive vessels against his 30-ship armada. The humans had signed their own death warrant by coming here. Pathetic, he hissed to his weapons officer. These mammals send cargo haulers to fight cruisers. Their desperation has made them foolish. The human ships certainly looked unremarkable at first glance. Their hulls bore the simple lines of merchant vessels, with none of the aggressive angles and weapon spines that marked true warships. The largest among them appeared to be a converted passenger liner, its civilian origins obvious to any military eye. Sir, the humans are broadcasting on all frequencies, his communications officer reported. Let them beg, Yithkol replied. Perhaps. Their pleas will amuse the crew before we destroy them. But the voice that filled the Vexthani bridge carried no desperation. Admiral Jinwoo's words were cold as the void between stars, each syllable weighted with absolute authority. Commander Yithkol of the Vexthani Empire. I am Admiral Park Jinwoo of the United Earth Defense Force. You have committed an act of war against human civilians. You have murdered children during a cultural celebration. Surrender immediately, and you will be tried under galactic law. Resist, and you will share the fate of your victims. Yithkol's laughter echoed through his bridge. These soft mammals threaten us? Weapons officer, target their largest vessel. Let us show them the price of challenging the Empire. The Blood Talon's main plasma cannon charged with a whine that vibrated through the ship's hull. The weapon could punch through planetary crusts, reducing mountains to vapor in seconds. No merchant vessel could survive such firepower. Fire, Yithkol commanded. The plasma bolt lanced across space, a river of superheated gas hot enough to melt, Steel. It struck the human flagship's shields and simply vanished. The energy dissipated against barriers that bent the laws of physics, absorbed by technology the Vexthani had never encountered. Impossible, Ithkol whispered, his amusement dying instantly. Admiral Jinwoo's response came not in words but in action. The Soul's vengeance revealed its true nature as weapon ports opened along its hull like the eyes of some ancient predator. The ship's main cannon charged with energies that made space itself ripple with gravitational distortions. Gravitational. Torpedo loaded and ready, Captain Ro Jae-sung reported from the Soul's Vengeance bridge. Target locked on enemy flagship. Fire! Jinwoo commanded. The torpedo that emerged from the human ship defied everything the Vexthani understood about physics. It moved through space by warping gravity itself, creating a pocket of crushing force that grew stronger as it traveled. When it struck the blood talon, the massive cruiser simply folded in on itself like paper in a giant's fist. Ithkol's flagship imploded in a flash of twisted metal and screaming atmosphere. 2,000 Vexithani warriors died in an instant, crushed by forces that compressed their molecules into exotic matter. The explosion sent shockwaves through the enemy formation, rattling ships that had seemed invincible moments before. All ships open fire, Jinwoo ordered. Show them what happens when they hurt our children. The true horror began as the human fleet dropped their civilian disguises. The merchant vessel, peaceful trader, revealed itself as the destroyer, Busan's Fury, its hull crackling with phase shift energy. Captain Kim Min-soo engaged the experimental drive that allowed his ship to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Phasing through enemy shields, Min-soo reported as his destroyer became translucent, passing through Vexthani energy barriers like a ghost through walls, delivering antimatter charges directly to engine cores. The Busan's Fury materialized inside a Vexthani cruiser's engine room, its hull occupying the same space as critical reactor components. The antimatter charges detonated within the enemy ship's power plant, creating explosions that tore the vessel apart from the inside. The cruiser died screaming, its hull splitting like an overripe fruit. Across the battlefield, human ships revealed technologies that existed only in theoretical papers and classified research files. The Luna's Wrath fired quantum torpedoes that existed in multiple realities simultaneously, each warhead striking its target from different dimensions. Vexithani armor plating, designed to resist conventional weapons, offered no protection against attacks that bypassed physical space entirely. The heavy cruiser, Terra's Shield, deployed experimental plasma lances that burned through enemy hulls like acid through tissue. Its weapons drew power directly from miniaturized stars contained within magnetic bottles, unleashing the fury of stellar cores against the Vexthani fleet. "Sir, we're being slaughtered," Ithkol's second-in-command screamed from the emergency bridge of their backup vessel. Around them, the Vexthani armada was being systematically destroyed by weapons they couldn't comprehend or counter. Ships that had terrorized dozens of species found themselves helpless against human technology. The destroyer, Righteous Anger, used gravitational fields to crush enemy vessels like tin cans. The cruiser, New Dawn, fired particle beams that aged enemy hull metal by centuries and seconds, turning their strongest armor into rust and dust. In 8 minutes of systematic destruction, 29 Vexthani ships became expanding clouds of debris and superheated gas. The survivors of their crews floated in spacesuits, their escape pods transmitting desperate pleas for mercy to frequencies that would never answer. Ithkol's damaged cruiser, Razor Wind, limped away from the battlefield with its engines sputtering, and its hull breached in a dozen places. The commander who had laughed at human weakness now fled in terror from forces beyond his understanding. "Jump drive charging," his engineer reported. 30 seconds to hyperspace transition. But Admiral Jinwoo's voice cut through their communications like a blade of ice. The transmission bypassed their encrypted channels, speaking directly to every Vexthani survivor with technology that made their most advanced systems look primitive. "Commander Ithkol, you killed children during their festival. Innocent beings who had never harmed anyone in their short lives. You burned them alive to make a point about your empire's power." The Admiral's words carried a weight that seemed to press down on the fleeing aliens like a physical force. There is no escape from justice. There is no forgiveness for what you have done. The Luna's wrath fired a single torpedo that tracked the fleeing cruiser through hyperspace itself. The weapon followed the razor wind, through dimensions where time and distance held no meaning, guided by targeting systems that could lock onto individual atoms across galactic distances. Ithcol watched in horror as the torpedo materialized on his bridge, its warhead glowing with the light of contained nuclear fusion. His last thought was of the human children he had dismissed as meaningless casualties in the Empire's expansion. The explosion lit up the sky above New Busan like a second sun. The final Vexthani ship died in nuclear fire directly above the colony cemetery where little Kim Yuna lay buried alongside her classmates. The blast created aurora patterns in the alien atmosphere, painting the sky in colors that seemed to dance like butterflies in the wind. On the surface, Lee Dae-ho knelt beside his daughter's grave and watched the light show above. For the first time since losing her, he allowed himself to hope that justice might exist in a universe that had seemed so cruel and random. The monsters who had stolen his little star were gone, but the price of their deaths would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. The quantum communication networks throughout Vexthani space lit up with panic as the impossible news traveled faster than light itself. Commander Ithcol's entire patrol fleet, 30 warships that had never known defeat, had been destroyed by 12 human vessels in less than 10 minutes. The recording showed technology that defied everything the galaxy understood about warfare. On the industrial world of Kethmore, Admiral Vexthon watched the battle footage for the 7th time, his compound eyes reflecting the nuclear fires that had consumed the razor wind. The humans had weapons that could phase through solid matter, gravitational torpedoes that folded space itself, and energy shields that absorbed plasma fire like rain. "Sir, we're receiving reports from across the outer territories," his aide reported, mandibles clicking with barely controlled fear. "Human fleets are emerging from hyperspace simultaneously at all 17 of our border systems." Vexithon's blood chilled. Simultaneous attacks across such vast distances required coordination and planning on a scale that spoke of intelligence networks far beyond anything they had imagined. The humans hadn't just hidden their military strength. They had been watching, learning, preparing for this moment for decades. At the Vexthani homeworld of Kithara, Admiral Korth-Axi stood in the Empire's war room surrounded by holographic displays showing the scope of the human assault. His lifetime of conquest and terror seemed meaningless as red markers appeared across the tactical map, each one representing a human fleet that had emerged from nowhere to challenge his empire's might. "How many ships do we have available for planetary defense?" he asked his staff, though the answer filled him with dread. 1,000 vessels, Admiral. Our most powerful battleships and experienced crews. Surely even these mysterious humans cannot stand against such overwhelming force. Korth-Axi wanted to believe it, but the footage from New Busan suggested otherwise. The humans hadn't just defeated Ithcol's fleet, they had toyed with it, revealing new weapons with each attack as if testing their capabilities against live targets. The human fleet that materialized above Kithara numbered only 200 ships, but their formation spoke of absolute confidence. Admiral Park Jin-woo's flagship, Luna's Wrath, positioned itself directly above the planet's capital city, its weapons trained on the government complex where Vexithani leaders had planned the conquest of dozens of worlds. Admiral Korth-Axi, Jin-woo's voice broadcast across all frequencies, reaching every ship and every world in the Empire simultaneously. "You have one opportunity to surrender. Order the immediate release of all enslaved populations and the withdrawal of your forces from occupied territories. Refuse and your empire dies today." Korth-Axi's mandibles clicked in rage. 1,000 ships, he screamed at his tactical display. "We outnumber them 5-1. Attack. Show these mammals the true power of the Empire." The battle that followed became legend throughout the galaxy. The Vexthani fleet charged forward with all the fury of a species that had never known defeat, their plasma cannons and missile batteries creating a wall of destruction that could have sterilized continents. The human response was surgical and terrifying. The battleship Earth's Fury deployed experimental temporal weapons that aged enemy ships by millennia in seconds, turning their hulls to dust and their crews to fossil remains. The destroyer squadron led by Captain Yoon Hae-jin used quantum entanglement torpedoes that struck their targets across multiple dimensions, ensuring that no amount of armor or shielding could provide protection. Admiral Jin Woo's flagship demonstrated technology that seemed pulled from the realm of gods rather than mortals. The Luna's Wrath fired a single shot that created a miniature black hole, drawing in 17 Vexthani cruisers and compressing them into a point of infinite density before allowing the artificial singularity to evaporate in a burst of Hawking radiation. The battle raged for 6 hours as human tactics proved superior to Vexthani aggression. Where the Empire relied on overwhelming force and terror, humanity used precision and innovation. Every human ship fought with the knowledge that they were avenging children who had died for no crime, greater than existing in the path of conquest. Captain Kim Min-soo's Busan's Fury phased through the enemy formation like a ghost of vengeance, appearing inside Vexthani vessels to deliver antimatter charges directly to their reactor cores. His ship moved between dimensions with impossible grace, untouchable and inexorable as death itself. When the fighting ended, Korthaxi's fleet was nothing but expanding clouds of debris orbiting the Vexthani homeworld. The admiral himself drifted in a damaged escape pod, watching his empire's capital city surrender under the guns of human warships. Admiral Jin Woo's final message echoed across every civilized world in the galaxy, broadcast by communication systems that had been thought secure and by technologies that bypassed known physics entirely. People of the galaxy, hear these words and remember them well. Humanity asked for nothing but the right to live in peace among the stars. We sought friendship with all species, trade that benefited everyone, and colonies where our children could grow up safe and happy. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority, backed by weapons that had just shattered the galaxy's most feared empire. The Vexthani chose to interpret our peaceful nature as weakness. They chose to harm our young, to murder children during their festival, to treat innocent lives as acceptable casualties in their expansion. Today you have seen the price of that choice. The transmission showed images of human fleets positioned above every former Vexthani stronghold, their weapons trained on military installations while their medical ships tended to freed slaves and oppressed populations. We are not conquerors. We are protectors. The former territories of the Vexthani Empire are now under human protection until their peoples can govern themselves freely. Any species that threatens the innocent, any empire that harms children, any force that treats peace as weakness, will face the same fate as those who learned too late that humanity's greatest strength is not our technology or our ships. It is our absolute refusal to accept the suffering of the innocent as the price of galactic politics. Across 17 star systems, Vexthani weapons were powered down and surrender codes transmitted. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries crumbled in a single day, brought low by a species they had dismissed as primitive farmers. On New Busan, construction robots worked around the clock to rebuild the colony's school. The new building incorporated Vexthani durability technology with human design principles, creating a structure that could withstand orbital bombardment while maintaining the warm, welcoming atmosphere that children needed to learn and grow. Teacher Yang Hye-jin stood in the completed classroom, arranging desks for the first day of the new term. On the walls hung portraits of the 15 children who had died during the harvest festival, their faces smiling with the eternal joy of youth. Cut too short. Teacher, will you tell us the story again? Asked young Park So-min, one of the new students whose family had moved to New Busan after hearing about the colony's courage in the face of tragedy. Hye-jin smiled and gathered the children around her, just as Teacher Choi had done in this same spot before giving her life to protect her students. Once upon a time, she began, there lived children on a world far from Earth who danced like butterflies and learned about the stars. When monsters came to hurt them, their sacrifice awakened something in humanity that the galaxy had never seen before. the absolute determination to ensure that no child anywhere would ever again pay the price for adult cruelty. Outside the Yayan classroom windows, memorial gardens bloomed with flowers that attracted the native butterflies Kim Yuna had loved so much. The creatures danced in the afternoon light, their wings catching the orange sunlight in patterns that seemed to carry messages of hope across the peaceful valley. The galaxy had learned its lesson at a terrible cost. Some lines should never be crossed, and those who harm children do so at their own peril. Humanity stood watch in the darkness between stars, ensuring that innocence would be protected and that the laughter of children would echo safely across countless worlds. The age of terror was over. The age of protection had begun. The end.